Hello everybody and welcome to the channel. It's Paulie Esther here, and yesterday Dead by Daylight put out a blog post updating us on the status of the dedicated servers, and let's talk about that now. So first of all, I saw a lot of comments that conveyed confusion and misconception about the dedicated servers themselves, so we're going to talk about what they are. So currently, in all forms of Dead by Daylight on PC and console, the killer is the host in the game. So if we look here at this example, the trapper represents the killer's computer, and the 4 survivors are all connecting to the killer's computer. What they want to do is change it, and dedicated servers are going to make it look like this example here, where you see a centralized computer, which is the server, the dedicated server, and then all of the players will connect to that, the killer and the 4 survivors. So the difference between these two examples, the current example that we have that exists right now, is the killer is the host and everyone connects to their PC. So the input lag that can occur is because your keystrokes aren't reaching the killer's computer in time. So when you see lag and bad hits and things like that, it's because of the distance created between your computer and the killer's computer and the killer's internet connection itself. So the idea is to bring in this dedicated server that everyone connects to, and then your connection is dependent on your connection between that your computer and that server. So the idea here is that the killer's computer has less control over what goes on with lag switching, things like that, so that everybody has a fair chance to get their inputs into the dedicated server machine to decide when hits are registered, when keys are pressed, and things like that. That's why they want to bring this in. So I see a lot of people complaining. They're saying they don't care about our dedicated servers that we have on console. Well, there aren't any dedicated servers. Nobody has dedicated servers right now. And yes, they did test this system on the public test build on PC, but they do want to roll it out to everyone. Okay, so now that we've established what dedicated servers are and why they want to bring them in, we're going to read a blog post that they put out yesterday about them. So if we go here on the Dead by Daylight forums, it says status update on the dedicated servers, put up by Not Queen in the news section. So dedicated server status update. A little under a year ago, we announced that we would be bringing dedicated servers to Dead by Daylight in summer 2019, remembering that summer doesn't end until September 24th. Since then, our team has been hard at work converting the game from the existing peer-to-peer system. There's been a lot of discussion surrounding dedicated servers recently, so we would like to address questions or concerns that you may have in this post. The release time frame. We have recently tested dedicated servers during the 3.2.0 public test build. After a few rounds of changes, we already could see drastic improvements on average ping, which translated into better general feedback. From the survey results and the community feedback, we identified 2 main issues that were putting the release at risk: the projectile interaction for the Huntress and the Plague, the delay on throw, and the hit registration, and interaction bugs. Some instances of missed attacks, multiple hits on one action, for example, Huntress hatchets hitting multiple survivors, the trapper placing 2 traps instead of 1, infinite blinds, and delays on interaction with objects. After reviewing the feedback collected and making several changes, we have decided that it is best to push back the planned release. Our new goal is to release dedicated servers on all platforms during fall 2019. We know this delay is disappointing, but we feel it's best to take the additional time to polish and the experience and iron out a few issues. The next steps are going to be projectile interaction improvement, interactions and bug fixing, and Steam live tests. We will communicate about our midterm plan as we get closer to the Steam live test in October. With the fixes of our 2 main issues, we will be ready to test the live environment right away. Testing on the live environment will allow us to gather more feedback and data. To streamline the process, the test will be exclusively on PC. These testing phases will be communicated thoroughly and can be reverted if needed. Okay, so this means it isn't going to be a public test build that people have to opt into. This is going to be on the live build on PC for everybody. So it isn't going to be like PTB where some people were testing it and some people weren't. So in October, everybody on PC is going to test this. And then they put out a list of the different server locations around the world for these dedicated servers. We have settled on a few locations for servers when we initially launch dedicated servers. They're going to be Singapore in Asia, Tokyo in Asia, Sydney in Australia, Frankfurt in Europe, London in Europe, Sao Paulo in South America, Northern Virginia in North America, and Oregon in North America, periodically enabling additional regions to test the impact on match quality. We believe that these locations should provide optimal coverage for most regions. If none of these locations are near you, you will still be able to play the game and have the same experience as before. What to expect on release. Although expectations are high, we do need to reiterate that this is the first step of many. Dedicated servers open many new possibilities that were previously impossible through our old system. Though there will be some immediate benefits, other new features will take time to implement. The initial release of dedicated servers focuses on infrastructure. We want to make sure that the foundation is solid before we can expand with new features. By connecting to the nearest data center, your connection will be more consistent from one match to another and generally more stable than connecting directly to other players. Since all players are connected to a server rather than to each other, we will be able to better identify disconnections, allowing us to be stricter on users who disconnect excessively. As a survivor, your movement and interactions will be based on the server rather than the killer, reducing some of the instances of jittering and delay when the killer has a weak connection. For example, camera jittering while using Dead Hard, or a delay while trying to unhook another survivor. The future for dedicated servers. With the groundwork set, we'll be able to take full advantage of dedicated servers with new features and changes behind the scenes. One such feature we would like to implement following the release of dedicated servers is the previously mentioned disconnection handling system. We would also like to expand on hit authority, for example, who gets the final say when a player has a poor connection, which would allow us to make finer adjustments to ensure that all hits feel as fair as possible. We cannot provide an ETA at this time for when these changes will go live, but as always, we will be sure to keep you posted once we have more info to share. Although migrating to dedicated servers is a large task, we are confident that the benefits they will provide will improve the game in both the short and the long term. We'll keep you updated on our progress as soon as we have new information to share, and we look forward to getting servers into your hands as soon as possible. So while that is disappointing, I don't know that it's necessarily surprising. The first day that I tested on the public test build, I had a lot of choppiness to the dedicated servers. I don't know if that was because of my internet connection that day. I know I was streaming at the same time, but even when I went off stream, I was still having the same jittery choppiness, and I thought it was going to get completely shut down. And then they put out the Stranger Things content on day 2, and then on day 3 they turned the dedicated servers back on, which I was really surprised about. And for the most part, they were fine for me. On day 3, 4, and 5, I played on the dedicated servers, and for the most part, I didn't have any issues. I had one instance that was crazy that I'll show you right here.
That's not very good. What?
Well, that was normal, wasn't it? But other than that, it was pretty smooth. It was as good or better than my live game experience. And I don't know that I noticed that it was better until I went back to live. When I went back to live, I thought, wow, I think that the PTB, the dedicated server test, was actually better than live. And I found myself missing it. And I didn't think I was going to say that. But hey, I think we can all agree that it's much better for them to delay it and continue to work on it until it's a satisfactory product, rather than for them to force it out just because of a self-imposed deadline that that the community demands they meet if it isn't ready, and then it winds up being a bad experience for everybody. That just makes no sense. So I see people saying, oh, they're lying about this deadline. It's like, if it isn't ready, why would you want it? Like, if somebody says, oh, I'm going to paint your car and I'll have it ready by this date, and it isn't ready, do you want a half-painted car, or do you want them to take the extra time to finish painting it? I don't get it, but people are like up in arms. I don't know, this is the internet. I guess people just complain about everything all the time. Okay, so now having said all that about this dedicated server business, the chapter is still coming out on time. Stranger Things is not affected by this in any way. Stranger Things is still coming out on September the 17th. It's just going to be on the peer-to-peer system that we showed you this graphic, what that looks like. So the killer, the Demogorgon, is going to be the host, and you're going to be connecting to their computer until the dedicated servers are ready to go. So it's going to be business as usual on Dead by Daylight. So that brings us to the other questions. Will the rest of the chapter content come out on the 17th as well? This would be the Bloodweb rework and the in-game friend list that they introduced in the PTB. I don't know how the in-game friend list works, if that is connected to the dedicated servers, if that's a separate thing. We're gonna have to wait and see what happens on Tuesday, if that is implemented or not. I haven't really seen anything on Twitter. I didn't look at the forums too closely to see if they answered that question, if the in-game friend list is being introduced or not. But I'm confident that the Bloodweb rework is going to go forward no matter what. So that's all I have for you today. I know a lot of people want to know, hey, when's Double Blood Points going to be trademarked soon for that one? They did say that, yes, we're still going to do a Double Blood Point event, but they're just not prepared to announce dates for it yet. And then some other people have questioned whether or not there's going to be a Hollow Blight or Halloween event this year. Looking at the number of cosmetics that came out of the data mining compared to previous amounts, we're kind of short. So I would be very surprised if we... it looks like to me that we only have cosmetics for a couple of weeks after the Stranger Things chapter releases. So it looks like there's probably like a 2-week window at the end, sometime in October, that we're like, well, what are we selling for cosmetics then? So there may indeed be a Halloween or Hollow Blight event coming then. If we got more time to talk about that. Hey, when stuff comes out on Tuesday, there's probably going to be some banners for the cosmetics. Who knows? There may even be Hollow Blight cosmetics in the files. We'll see what happens. Usually when the chapter releases, something gets updated. So stay tuned on that front. Anyway, thanks for watching, everybody. Have a great day. Take care of each other out there in the fog. Unless you're that trapper who's all the survivors are connected to your computer and then just wiggle your cord and lag switch. No, don't do that. That's terrible. Don't do that. You're an incredibly terrible person if you're doing that. Stop it. Bye-bye.